Alrighty, I was on the YouTubes and I found this Lilly Gaddis channel, and here's a video clip that I saw in one of her videos of this guy encouraging me to renounce my whiteness. Well, I'll pop in the short video clip and I'll take it from there.
If you're a decent person, then it should be quite easy to put the whiteness down. So I encourage you to renounce your whiteness, because it's not right to be white.
So what is whiteness? As far as I can tell, whiteness is like the white patriarchy, white male patriarchy. The whole white man's in control of everything. I would disagree with that, because if white man was in control of everything, why is there pox in politics? You know, people of color. It's like the U.S. literally had a half black president for 2 terms. So how is that whiteness? He says that if you're a decent person, you'll put the whiteness down because it's not okay to be white. Well, I am white. I was born white. So what's wrong with me being white? It's who I am. How can I put that down? Is it one of those things where I have to grovel and apologize for something that I didn't do? Because guess what? I'm not going to do that, because I had nothing to do with the past crimes, or I guess I should say alleged past crimes. When I was a kid, I heard about things like the transatlantic slave trade, but as I got older, I heard about this Barbary slave trade. Barbary slave trade involved the capture and sale of European slaves in markets across the Ottoman Barbary states in North Africa. This trade was conducted by Barbary pirates, also known as corsairs, who raided coastal towns throughout the Mediterranean as far north as the British Isles, Iceland, and the Atlantic coast of Europe. So yeah, who were they enslaving? White people. Strange how when I was in school, I didn't hear about this. Odd. And of course, Islam, the religion of peace, played a very heavy role in this. Why? Captives who converted to Islam were generally freed, but this meant they could never return to their native countries. Estimates of the number of Europeans enslaved vary significantly. Historian Robert Davis estimated that between 1 and 1.25 million Europeans were captured and sold into slavery between the 16th and mid-18th centuries. And at the bottom here it says the origins of the trade are ancient. So does that mean it was started well before the 16th century? I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. So yeah, when I grew up, I heard about the transatlantic slave trade. I never heard a peep about this Barbary slave trade. And again, I wonder why. And here's something else I never heard about when I was a kid. Black slave kingdoms. Here's an example. The Kingdom of Dahomey, located in present-day West Africa, relied heavily on the transatlantic slave trade for its economic and political power. Its kings, particularly Genzo, who ruled in the 19th century, actively resisted international pressure to end slavery. Despite British efforts to suppress the trade, Genzo rejected alternatives like palm oil. Hey, palm oil! That's in all the chocolate bars. Arguing that slave trade was central to his people's culture and economy. Well, your culture sucks then. In the 1840s, he sent a letter to Queen Victoria stating, "I and my army are ready at all times to fight the Queen's enemies and do anything the English government may ask of me, except to give up the slave trade. No other trade is known to my people." Well, you could learn. He also claimed that ending the trade was against the will of his priests and oracle. Even after Genzo's reign, his successor Gela attempted to revive slave raiding, showing the kingdom's deep commitment to maintaining the system. Dahomey's dependence on selling war captives, often acquired through military campaigns. Yeah, they did military campaigns to capture slaves to sell. and they also took the land to expand their kingdom. Made it one of West Africa's principal slave states and earned it hostility from neighboring peoples. So when I read about this, I also started thinking, okay, so why was Britain so determined to end slavery? Well, that's where you get into the abolitionist stuff. Here's what I found out about that. British abolitionists were inspired to stop this monstrous trade by explorer and missionary David Livingstone through means such as diplomatic or discreet action. Thomas F. Reed, Consul General of Cairo in the 1860s, disguised himself as an Arab and infiltrated the slave markets. He estimated that around 15,000 slaves were sold in Cairo every year. Other British diplomats actively helped to free the slaves, including buying their freedom with official funds or organizing safe houses for them. The British campaign against slavery was not seen as just a humanitarian cause. French and American slave traders, go figure, accused Britain of using it as a pretext for colonial expansion into West Africa, Cuba, and even Texas. However, slave trading was booming at this time, and it would have been in Britain's economic interest to continue with it. Instead, the abolitionists' humanitarian and religious pressure at home won out, and luckily Britain, a rich country, was able to afford to act as she did. At the bottom here it says Britain is often condemned for not paying compensation to the enslaved as well as the slaved owners. So Britain is getting hate because they bought the slaves' freedom from their masters, but they didn't compensate the slaves. First off, Britain doesn't owe the slaves compensation because they weren't British slaves. 2, Britain bought their freedom, and people have the nerve to say, oh, now you gotta pay the slaves compensation. That's asinine. Britain aimed to stop slavery not just at the time, but also in the future. Its efforts to suppress the slave trade worldwide became known as the British Crusade. Oh, to end slavery, it sounds like a pretty good crusade. Okay, so I've talked about how there was a black kingdom that wanted to keep slavery. Well, when did the Middle East outlaw slavery? The abolition of slavery in the Middle East occurred gradually across the 20th century, with different countries enacting laws at different times. Slavery was formally abolished in Saudi Arabia and Yemen in 1962. Wow. The United Arab Emirates followed in 1964, and Oman in 1970. Earlier, Bahrain abolished slavery in 1937, Kuwait 49, Qatar 52, Iran, Jordan abolished slavery in 29, Morocco closed its open slave market in 22. The last country to abolish slavery was Mauritania, which did so in 1981, although the practice persisted, let me guess, because law enforcement didn't enforce the law, and was only effectively enforced, in 2007. The process was influenced by international pressures, particularly from European nations like Britain, and internal state modernization efforts. So European countries, Britain, put pressure on the Middle East to abolish slavery. That's interesting. See, this kind of stuff I didn't hear about in school or on any of the history channels. I heard about how the white man went to Africa and abducted a whole whack of black people. That's what I heard. So yeah, when I hear leftists blame white people for slavery, no. I don't buy that for a second. That's just socialist brainwashing. And what do I mean by that? The whole whiteness stuff and blaming whitey for everything, that's what socialists do. They always blame a group of people. For example, oh, everything that's going wrong with our country is because of the rich people. What is it? The bourgeoisie? or the rich peasant farmer class, what were they called, the kulaks in Ukraine. In South Africa, they're blaming the white farmers for having all the land. I think they did the same thing in Zimbabwe. They went after the white farmers. If I'm not mistaken, Zimbabwe used to be the breadbasket of Africa. I don't think it's that anymore. Again, what happened when the Soviets went after the kulaks in Ukraine? The agriculture went to hell in a handbasket. And there was another socialist group that blamed a group of people too. They said that this group of people controlled the government, controlled the banks, and was responsible for Germany's defeat during the First World War. So to me, this guy's a socialist. He's using demonization, whitey bad, to demonize white people, the whole white race. First comes demonization, then comes dehumanization, then comes Geno. Well, to finish up this video, am I ashamed of being white? No, it's who I am. Why would I be ashamed of who I am? Well, anywho, take care out there in clown world.